In the previous lesson, we talked about creating the tables for our database. But Laravel has a more powerful way of creating these tables called migrations. With migrations, you can create, modify, drop your table and even seed it with data, as we'll see later. But perhaps the most powerful feature is version control. To start with migration, we'll need to turn to the command line prompt and use the Laravel's command line interface, which is Artisan. We used Artisan in a previous lesson when we started the Laravel's built-in server. I'm going to open up a new command prompt window and will change directory to my apps folder, which is my first app. There is another command prompt window running, the one that we started the Laravel's built-in server, which we are going to leave it running if you want to be able to access the web application through the browser. Let's start creating a new migration file. We will do that by using the php artisan migrate :make command, followed by the action that we want to take with this migration, which in our case is create books. After a few seconds, the migration file is created. Let's get back to our code editor and see how the file is looking. The generated migration file is located into the database folder inside the migrations folder. The file name starts with a timestamp followed by the name that we specified in the command line, which is create books in our case. The migration file contains two functions, one called up and another one called down. Any idea what these are used for? It's simple. When you run the migration command, the up function will be called. Likewise, when we run the rollback command, the down function will be called. In other words, the up function is used to create the table along with the structure that we want, and the down function will actually delete the table or drop it. I'm going to copy these lines of code from the routes.php file and paste them into the up function of my migration file. We'll just rename the table to be created to books2, as books is already created in the database. As for the down function, the code to be executed is straightforward. We simply drop the table that we created by using schema :drop function followed by the name of the table to be deleted, which is books2 in our case. Right now, our database contains only one table called books. Let's run the migration, but before being able to run it, we need to create a new table that will keep our migration data. Luckily for us, creating this table in Laravel involves a single command, which is php artisan migrate :install. That returns a response letting us know that the migration table has been successfully created. Next, we run the actual migration command, which is php artisan migrate. We are asked to confirm that we want to run the migration command, as this could alter the database table. We answer with yes, and the migration has been run successfully. Let's check the database to see the changes. First, there is a new table called migrations along with a new one called books2. Let's first check the structure of books2 table. As we can see, this contains the columns that we specified in our up function of the migration file. Next, let's check the migration table. This table contains two columns, one called migration, which is a varchar, and another one called batch, which can hold integers. Both these columns are internally used by Laravel in order to keep track of the migrations. We successfully ran our migration, which actually called the up function. But what about the down function? How we can call it and why will you want to do that? At some point, you realize that the structure that you defined for your database has some issues, and you want to roll back your changes to a previous state. This is where the down function comes into play. It restores your database structure to a previous state before running the migration command. Let's see how we can run this and what are its results. In order to do that, we run php artisan migrate, follow it by colon, and then the rollback keyword. But before actually running this command, let's take a look again at our database tables. Right now we have a table called books, another one called books2, which was created by our migration, and a third one called migration. I'll run the migration rollback command and will again confirm. It says rolled back and the name of our migration file. Let's see how the database is looking now. Back to phpMyAdmin and refreshing the page, we can see that the book2 table, the one created earlier with our migration, is gone. That's because our down function contained the drop table statement. So, this is a nice way to create and restore your database tables in case something goes wrong. In this lesson we discussed about Laravel migrations. We saw how we can create tables and drop them later in case we need to do that. Migrations can also be used to alter the table structure if needed.